What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I'm super excited for this conversation. This woman is an attorney, a podcast host, and female empowerment speaker for high achieving, educated, successful women near or over 40 years old. Please welcome Michelle Johnson. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Sure, Deanna. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. So by trade, I am an attorney. Currently, I am 44 years old. Had quite a journey getting here. I knew from the age of probably like 10 years old when I was in fifth grade that I wanted to be an attorney. I knew from that point, something resonated in my head. I was like, okay, I want to do something that I can do with someone else, work for someone, but also work on my own. So I kind of just follow that path, which seems to be kind of unusual for a lot of people. Followed that journey, became an attorney in my 20s. But before that happened, after my first year of law school, I became pregnant and had my daughter. I was a single mother from the beginning at that point. So there was some struggle that went on.
Sure.
But I was determined to finish law school. That's what I wanted to do. When she was like 5 weeks old, I went back to law school, started working back full time at a law firm, which I was doing kind of some litigation assistant work. After that first year, it was a total blur. I was like, one of these has to go. And it was the job. And so I left and moved to Louisiana to finish my last 2 years of law school. Again, as a single parent, just kind of did it. Graduated law school, became an attorney, moved back to Georgia, became licensed, and about 30 years old, I became involved in a relationship. There's always a man involved. So
Yeah.
became involved in a relationship, a 10-year situationship is what we call it. I went through an epiphany shortly before that as to why I was in a relationship. And so many people would say to me, like, why are you not like married? Like, you're attractive, you're smart, you're witty, you're funny. And I was like, yeah, why am I still single? So I kind of had an epiphany as to why I was the way I was. We can talk about that later if you want. But
Sure.
went through that and then it ended up in a relationship a year later, but did not finish going through my full transformation like I should have. Again, was in a crazy relationship for 10 years. My ex-partner, he was getting out of a 16-year relationship, marriage, should I say.
Oh, wow.
So he was not emotionally ready to be in a relationship. And so he did things that were not consistent with being in an exclusive relationship. And that went on for several years,
Oh.
10 years. I felt like, oh, he was a good person. Felt like he was an amazing father for his kids.
Yeah.
But that's not the same thing as being a good partner.
Right.
Fast forward to about 40, I was just like, okay, this is not healthy. Like, literally, my body was breaking down. It was so stressful. Professionally, I was doing well at that point. I was making six figures. But like, my personal life was like really, really suffering. My hair was falling out.
Oh.
I wasn't sleeping. My back was like really tense. It was just bad. I couldn't sleep throughout the night. It was just really bad. So I finally just said, you know what, we got to go to separate ways. And we had broken up like probably like 10 times before
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
But this time was the last time. Like, I put in my bio on the website, like, you know what it is. Sometimes we break up, ladies.
Yeah.
We go back and forth and then come back. And finally there's like that last time. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just felt free. I finished going through a transformation. I connected with my now husband. And once I went through this total transformation, we ended up getting married within a year. When I was 41, we had a baby later on that year when I was 41 and had another baby at 43. So, best thing in my life, because not only was I at peace relationship wise, but career wise, things changed because we came together as a partnership and now we're in business together. I do one part of the business and he does the other part, which would not be possible without him.
That's amazing. So can you talk about your transformation? Because I feel like that's where women or anybody in the audience needs to hear like how that happens and what that looks like for someone, because I've gone kind of through that as well. Like the last 5 years for me after losing my husband, it's been a journey. And I like I've shed a lot of the old behaviors, and I gotten involved in a real toxic relationship right after my husband passed. and it was abusive. And I was like, oh my God, I'm too old to be going through this. I can't do this anymore. And it was like, it's all about the journey, not the destination. And I had to go through a little bit of a transformation myself. So what did that look like for you?
So the first part of my transformation happened when I was in my late 20s. And as I was telling you, it was kind of like, why am I not in a relationship? And I felt like I was a good person. I had my head on my shoulders. And I kind of realized this one night why I was not in relationships. I was not emotionally connecting with men. Like everything seemed okay on the surface. But if we want to go back, I realized I'll have to tell you the story. So when I was in high school, my dad used to bring me to school. He used to drive me to school, and he used to have talks with me.
Oh boy.
And the things, right, the things that he would say, the things that stood out was men are logical, women are emotional.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the way it is. And so I subconsciously processed that as, oh, well, that means if I'm emotional, then I'm weak and I'm not smart. And so subconsciously, I just kind of buried my feelings.
Yeah.
And so I was not connecting with men. It was almost like having the mentality of two men in a relationship, and that just cannot work.
No.
Right.
Not.
So I realized that in my late 20s. And once I realized that, I started crying like a baby. Like, I
It's
just
all coming out.
let it go.
Yeah.
But I ended up being in a long-term relationship shortly after that. So within that year, I, moved back to Atlanta, passed the bar, became an attorney, started practicing, then I met him. And a lot of people, I think they go through this process. Okay, why am I the way that I am? But they don't finish the journey. Like
Yeah.
then they like get together with that first person who comes into their lives, right?
Yeah.
And it may not be the right person. And usually it is not the right person. So I spent 10 years, all my good years, right?
Oh.
Good baby making years, so I thought.
Wow, clearly not for you, girl, because you did.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I never thought I'd have children in my 40s. I thought I'd be like done in my 20s.
Well, you look like you're still in your 20s, so it's all good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Flattery gets you everywhere. But yeah, so the second transformation when I was close in my 40s, almost 40, um, I had to step back and think, okay, I went through, okay, why I was the way I was.
Yeah.
But then I really had to learn how to say no. I am better than this, and I deserve more than this. Um, and so I just had to find someone who's on the same level. And I don't need to, like at this age, I don't want someone who's just trying to figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
You need to be established. And because there's so many women, I know so many professional women, I know so many female attorneys who just deal with men who are just not on their level, who are just still trying to make it in life. And that's just not healthy. And so I had to, really embed that in my head. And then part of it, the transformation for me was spiritual. Um, about 6, 7, 8 months into the relationship with my now husband, when we became exclusive. And we actually met originally when my daughter was like 1. So like in 2003.
So you knew him for a while.
I knew him for a while, but again, I was in a relationship, and during some of the breakups, we would kind of reconnect, but I always knew he was like husband potential.
Yeah.
So the spiritual part was like 8, 9 months into the relationship. I just was kind of like going back and forth. And then one night I cried again. I just had a release. And I realized then that I had not mourned my previous relationship.
Yeah.
I think that as professional women, like on the outside world, we look like everything is together,
Right.
right? And you're like, okay, I'm getting rid of this toxic person or what have you, this toxic relationship, and I'm me and I'm strong and I'm just going to move on. And we don't stop to really process what you've been through. It's actually trauma. It's a loss. Someone that you've known for so long in your life is now gone, and you really need to process it. I don't think a lot of women do that.
No, not at all. They jump from relationship to, I mean, I know women that jump from relationship to relationship. I'm like, how can you do that? Like, I need to like clear it, clean house after being in a relationship for a while.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I was just kind of like, I did, maybe there was like a 6 month period from my 10-year relationship to my now husband. But it was very, easy with my husband because again, we had known each other for so long.
Sure.
I had just got out of the relationship, so I wasn't pushing marriage. I was just like, oh well, let's just, like maybe date, and we're dating in a year. We'll talk about marriage. Eddie, and I wasn't really pushing it because by then I turned 40. I was like, oh, I'm not getting married by 40. It's over. So there was no clock for me to beat. And that's another thing.
Right.
A lot of women, when they're reaching 40, they're like, okay, I can't have kids. Like my chances of having kids is decreasing significantly. I may be alone for the rest of my life. Let me just deal with the person that I'm with. I
Yeah.
mean, at least I know their issues, right?
Right.
And that's just not the way to think about it. You really, again, you have knowledge, what you want and what you deserve.
We got to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Father's Day is just around the corner, and you probably need a gift for a hairy husband, significant other, father, sugar daddy possibly, or the father of your dog. Make the men in your life proud this year and get him the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and just launched their Lawnmower 4.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code LabelFree20 at www.manscaped.com.
So, I mean, that's kind of pretty much it. My transformation again with my now husband, I cried again, and it was more spiritual. I mourned that past relationship.
Sure.
And then I just kind of like asked God just like to open my heart and, show me how to be the wife that I needed to be for my husband. And from that moment, it was amazing. I never experienced such a greater sense of peace ever in my life. And from that point on, like I was a totally different person. Like my husband, I could, back then he could tell there was a difference. Like I was like way more affectionate. I was closer, and so there was definitely something I didn't think that I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
But there was something that was holding me back. And again, so from that moment on, I think 4 months later we were married.
Wow.
And
oh my God,
we had
so great.
we had our first son. Yeah. So now, from that point when I got pregnant with my son, I still was 40 or 40/41. And I was like terrified that I was not going to have this baby because I went on the internet, just like all women do when they're around that age, right? In their 40s, like they see all these statistics, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get pregnant. And if I get pregnant, the baby's going to have some deformities. And it just isn't true. But I started kind of blogging during that pregnancy, but I was still scared. So I just wanted to get through the pregnancy and see what happened. And once my first son was born, like he was like a week old, I was nursing him in one arm and I had my phone in the other, and I just started a pregnancy after 40 group. And today we've got about 7,000 members.
Well, you 7,001.
We're waiting.
My fingers crossed.
So it's an amazing group of women. I love the stories, and my husband and I wouldn't have done it without him, because he was like, well, why don't you write an article about that? Why don't you write that down? And I'm like, who are you? So he's like kind of pushing, and I didn't know, like I didn't expect it to be a business or anything. But he is my husband's a programmer, and so he can like kind of like program things. He does all the technical stuff.
Sure.
So out of that, I started the podcast, started the website, and started doing articles. But yeah, so the funny thing is about the Pregnancy After 40 website is I had done articles because I was the one who had been pregnant.
Yeah.
And then we released those articles, and he did an article. And I was like, well, how do you do an article? You've never been pregnant before. But he's the one who does the keyword research. So if you're into like Google and all that, and how you rank and how you get on page
SEO and all that stuff.
Person. Yeah, I'm not that person. I just did articles, right? I just wrote these articles, and he wrote one. And then the first article to rank was his article. Not only was it the last one that we put out, but it was the one that he did because he knew all that stuff to put in. I was happy that we ranked.
Right. Well, you're stealing my thunder a little bit, babe. Like what's going on here? Make mine rank a little bit higher.
Right. But I mean, it was awesome because now we work together. He's also recorded music for years. So he edits our podcast, which is great because I did that for about 3 minutes, and I was like, oh, nope, not doing this.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we actually we're a pretty good team.
That I feel like that makes all the difference is when you find a partner that you can be a good team with, because that you've got that good, like that power couple juju. Like my late husband and I, we worked really well together. He wasn't exactly the best husband, but we worked well together, so I can relate to that and how that feels. I miss that It's been dating at this stage of my life in today's world really stinks.
Yeah,
It really stinks.
does. It does. And I can't imagine what it'd be like to date now.
Girl,
I
no.
just started recently another group. It's called Successful and Single to Marvelous and Married. So it's a group of married people, men and women, single and married, just to kind of create a dialogue between men and women. And they're all successful. My thing is, okay, we want to kind of get people who are already successful financially. Everyone's making six figures, so we don't want money to be the issue, right? But what is it? Why are men and women not connecting?
Yeah.
And so the, I guess, second half of the transformation process that I've started speaking about is, after you figure out why you are the way you are in relationships and why you're not emotionally connecting with people, you figure that out.
Yeah.
First thing is you figure out, do you need some counseling? Do you need to be healed from something? Are you hurt? Do you need to be coached? Like, everyone does not need to be counseled. Some people do, some people don't. Some people can benefit from just coaching, relationship coaching. And then you learn, how to really emotionally connect with, from my perspective, to men.
Yeah.
And attract quality men, and let the ones who are not so quality, just let them keep going.
Right.
Bypass them, right? And then once you've learned all this stuff, how to emotionally connect with men, resist the temptation to put all the things that you've learned into the first person that you meet again, because it's still like, oh my gosh, I forgot all this knowledge, now I know what to do with it. Oh, and here's this man, I'm attracted to him, I'm going to put all this into him. And that's, again, the wrong thing to do, because I'm a big proponent of, hey, let's date around a little bit. Does not mean sleep around, but it definitely means date around. So I talk about resisting the temptation to settle with the first person that you meet, and just kind of take your time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's
and enjoy dating.
Some really great advice. Although I have not really enjoyed dating. Luckily, I've been with someone for like the last 7 months, and it's been going great. And he's completely opposite of anybody I've ever gone for, but he treats me so well. Like, I've always been like the big muscle guy, like, the meathead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm staying far away from them because they're always trouble, and it's always like, no, thank you. So my boyfriend's kind of got the dad bod going on, and it doesn't bother me at all because he treats me like I am like a queen, and I'm just like, okay, we're good. I'll have the hard body, you can have the dad.
All right. Yeah, I know you're an athlete. So.
I am. You have some questions here, and I want to actually ask a couple of these before we wrap things up. Mm-hmm. I think you've kind of touched on this, but how is your life different after 40 than it was before 40?
Every day that I wake up, I am happy. Like, I'm happy and I'm excited, because of the new ventures that we're doing, the partnership and the relationship that I have. I mean, so much of your life is affected by your personal relationship that you're in, your romantic relationship, your marriage. And I feel really, really good about that. I didn't feel that in my 30s at all. I got to a point in my 30s, I was just like, oh gosh, another day. Appointments, meeting with people, and it just was unfulfilling. I go home and I'm wondering, is my partner talking to someone else, or cheating, like all that. It just consumed me. And I don't have those issues with my husband. I'm just really, really happy. I'm thankful for my children. I'm thankful to be blessed that, I've had children in my 40s, and that I can share my experience with other women. I just feel like I'm just in a totally different place.
I love it. Okay, that leads me into the next one. What is your heart transformation program that you designed?
So that's what I kind of spoke about. And I'll go through it really quick again. So heart, H is for, do you need to be healed? Are you hurting? Do you need counseling? Do you need coaching? Like, how do we get you over the hump so you can get out of the situationships that you're in, the bad relationships you're in, the toxic relationships you're in? And the E is for explore your past, why you are the way you are. So my story again was, with my dad. Like, I was, subconsciously, I was like not expressing my feelings emotionally, and I was not connecting with men. And that's part of the exploration. The A is attracting quality men at this point. Once you know why you are the way that you are, and just only deal with them. R is resisting the temptation to settle down with the first person that you meet. And T, just kind of like take your time dating multiple men before you kind of become exclusive with one person.
And then the T.
The T's are taking your time.
Oh, the T's taking time. I love that. Where can people find you? You're just awesome, Michelle. I feel like we could talk forever. But if somebody's listening to this and wants to reach out to you, where are all your links?
So for pregnancy, it's pregnancyafter40.com. You can do 40forty.com or just pregnancyafter40, the number 40.com. You'll get to us there. You can also join our Facebook group, which is Pregnancy After 40 FORTY private group. And as far as speaking and more of a relationships, that's happily ever after 4040.com.
Awesome. I will put all those links in the description of the episode. Before we wrap things up, Michelle, is there any last words of wisdom or advice? You dropped a lot, though. You shared a lot of your personal experience. No, it's great because I can relate. I'm sure anybody listening to this, especially us women, will be able to relate to what you've gone through. And it's really great when people share their stories. So any last words of wisdom?
So for me, 40 is just the beginning and the best is yet to come.
Yes. I love that. Woo-hoo! Yes, girl. Yes. I'm feeling that. Absolutely. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all that good stuff. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.